It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Sanjay Kesi, and he is heading the Agarkar Research Institute Culture Collection. So we have in ITCC, we have one more in the Pune, that is Agarkar Research Institute. There is a culture collection that is National Fungal Culture Collection of India, NFCCI. And he is heading that, and his research area is biodiversity, systematics and application, and also the service like we do here, and also the conservation of those cultures which are being maintained over there. And he has got so many awards and recognitions. He was selected and attended Advanced International Training Program on Genetic Resources and Intellectual Property Rights, sponsored by Swedish International Development Corporation Agency in SIDA, that is SIDA, and in 2013, and he was also awarded Honorary Fellowship of Society of Applied Biotechnology in 2012, and he participated in 12th International Conference on Culture Collection, Brazil, and represented national NFCCI there, and he awarded Association for Young Scientists in the niche area of agricultural biotechnology by DBT, Government of India, and availed advanced training on biology of endophytes. So his specialization of his area of research is mostly on endophytes. That's how today he is also going to give you the polymerase taxonomy on endophytes. And he was also elected as a president-elect of West Zone Indian Phytopathology Society 2008, and he was a coordinator for this NFCCI since 2008, and a member Executive Council Microscope Society of India 2004, and he was also awarded a Research Associateship of CSIR New Delhi, and also as a Young Scientist Award DST New Delhi. And he has got more memberships in many scientific societies, International Society of Conservation of Fungi, that is UK, and he was he's an honorary member over there, and he is a member in many Indian societies like Society for Applied Biotechnology, Microscope Society of India, then Indian Science Congress Association, Delhi University Botanical Society, and Indian Phytopathological Society. So he, like here, what we are doing in this culture collection, in that Agarkar Research Institute culture collection also, he is heading that, and then he is maintaining that, and he is head for the complete mycological section over there. And since long time he was working on endophytes, which are very useful, unlike the pathogens. So his area of research is there, and then you can also, after listening to his lecture, and then you can think of that area because it is a useful area. So it can be used for the farmer. So applied aspect, you can take up that applied aspect, and then you can make use of that. So now I request Dr. Singh to have a open.
Thank you, madam. I'm audible? Okay. Thank you, madam, for your kind words. And at the outset, I would like to thank the Division of Plant Pathology and ICR for giving me opportunity to share with you some of our research related to endophytes. It's really an interesting area, but again, it will open a lot of questions and queries that how these endophytes are different from the other plant pathogens or saprophytes or non-pathogenic fungi. So I can see here the very young faces. Probably you can take up this area also in future. It's a really coming area, and lot of work is going on the endophytes, especially on their secondary products, which has the real application in agriculture, health, and other industry. So as Dr. Diba has given me the topic to polyphagic taxonomy of endophytic fungi. I know that you all are aware about this, what is this polyphagic. But unfortunately, I would say here that in case of endophytic fungi, this terminology, the polyphagic, until now it is not very well worked. when we talk about the polyphagic, what it is the polyphagic? Is a morphology based, then molecular, and then biochemical, right? So, the third one, the biochemical aspects is not fully established in case of endophytes. Many other fungi, like if you take example Aspergillus, Penicillium, Fusarium, Clototrichum, at least biochemical aspect is very well established. So, there you can use this terminology polyphagic. Here I would say it is actually biphagic. Morphology and molecular aspect is very well established, and it is working in all group of fungi. You might have heard other lecture like mushroom, higher group of fungi, lower group of fungi. So, it is time to go for the like a combo aspect. There was a phase in science, in mycology, when people started working with the only morphology based classification system. But you know that in due course of time, with the advancement of new advances, new tools, many things has coming up, and it is now well established that lot of plasticity is there in case of fungi. Many characteristic feature which is highly influenced by the environmental conditions, means they are not the stable feature. In that case, genomic study very well serve the purpose. But now slightly focus is changing towards the complete genomics, which is again it may be a disastrous. If tomorrow somebody asks you, you go to collect the agaricus from the field, unless you know the basic feature of the agaricus, you will not be able to go and actually choose from the field. If in one patch there are agaricus, there are boletes and other group of fungi they are growing. So, which one is the agaricus? What will be the criteria to collect that one? So, one approach will be there, whatever is there you will collect everything, put into the bag and bring to the laboratory, then we will open the manual. Again you are going to the morpho based. So, as I said that combo application is very much required, but unfortunately very good journal, if you read paper nowadays is coming very high impact paper, hardly even 10% morphology is not described, only fully genomic study is there. So, again maybe after 10 years, 15 years people will revert. So, those who are having interest in morpho based taxonomy, keep that going also, along with that you will learn for the genomic study. Then you will become like a perfect. So, it is not time to ignore any basic aspect of science. Many international center you talk about, whether it is CABI, earlier IMI was there, International Mycological Institute, CBS Netherlands. If you look up at the people, those who have worked more than 50 years back, 100 years back, they were all basic mycologists. They started their career in the basic mycology, morphology based taxonomy, and later on, here it makes the difference. We have something like a adamant that once you cross the 50, 55, I am not going to learn any new techniques. But there those people, they have really in the old age, they have learned the contemporary science. I will quote example Walter Gams, you might have read his soil fungi manual. At the age of 55, 58, he learned the molecular systematics, and all his back study, means Acremonium and Cephalosporium group of fungi, completely he revised the monograph, and all strains which he has isolated earlier, it was deposited in CBS Netherlands because he was working in the CBS, and he updated, means all those species using morphology, culture and molecular tools. So, that kind of revisionary work is required. So, this is the background of the systematic. I am coming to the endophytes. Endophytes means, as the name indicates, anything which is coming from the inside, right. So, as a definition, these endophytes, they reside inside the plant without causing any harm or without causing any symptom or any disease to the plant. So, in other words, they are having a symbiotic association with the plant. Okay. So, a little bit background about the diversity of fungi, because all these aspects is related to biodiversity. You know that many status have been changed now about the fungi. Once it was considered as a orphan group. Okay. Why it was a orphan group? Because right from beginning these fungi were treated under the plant kingdom. So, one side a big plant, huge plant, another side is microscopic fungus. So, always there was a discrimination between plant and fungi. But in order to realize this basic fact, it took more than 100 years. At least now that situation is changed, and fungi is no more pocket organism of the botanist nor microbiologist. It has got the independent status. Even United Nations has asked every member country to furnish the detail about the diversity status and conservation status of fungi of your own country. So, every nation, when they are giving the national report in the March, some special portion about the fungi they have to give the details. So, what is the status of conservation? So, that changes had taken place. Though if you look at the classification system, way back in 1969, textbook Whitaker has given a 5 kingdom system where the fungi was separated. But very unfortunate part is even today, many of the colleges, university people, they are teaching these fungi under the plant kingdom. I am talking book says that 1969, and now the situation is that very recent situation that even we cannot consider fungi as a microbes. It is totally independent. So, these changes had taken place, and there is a behind that principle, behind that concept, there is a certain argument and hypothesis. You should read the paper actually. Okay. So, fungi are the largest group in number on earth, next only to the insect, okay. Different from animal and plant, belong to separate biological kingdom, likely to contain far more species than the plant kingdom, that is also important. Up till now it was treated under the plant kingdom, and more weightage was given as far as conservation is concerned to the plant kingdom, because huge plant you can see with the naked eye, nobody cares about which is microscopic. Okay. So, many fungi, that is why in a big country like India we do not have any red data book. How many fungi are vanished, extinct, nobody knows, we do not have any details about that. Plants you have number of, whole Botanical Survey of India working on that, and they have the red data book about the plant, because it is easy. So, as a human nature, we always try to pick up a which is a easy problem, not the difficult problem. Okay. If you look at the world record about fungi, 1,20,000 something plus minus is reported in the literature up till now, and how many are hidden until now not discovered, nobody knows. So, 90s there was a paper by D.L. Hawksworth, it says that 1.5 million fungi, it is very conservative, very conservative. Now, the story is blowing that actually it is opposite, not 1.5 million, 5.1 million fungi. And if we have only documented record of 1,20,000 somewhere plus minus, let us say 25,000. So, where are the missing fungi? If you look at the endophytes, only one aspect. One plant can have between 5 to 25 fungi, endophyte. So, that way statistically you can calculate. If in India we have somewhere 17,000 angiospermic plant, then what will be the possible number of endophytic fungi? Let us optimally, if we consider not 25, not even 5, let us say 50. So, what will be the 17,000 into 50? That many number. And if you look at the Indian our documentation, we do not have a very clear picture. Somebody says 28,000, BSI one compilation says only somewhere 15,000, 16,000 documented record is there. This is the status of fungi of India. Okay. So, these fungi are also important aspects. If you compare with the other organisms like bacteria, viruses, so it is not that they do not have potential, lot of potentials are there. And now phase has changed. 50 years, 80 years back, these fungi were known only for the in the bad sense. They created the problem for the agriculture, created the problem for the human health, animal health, all sorts of. But now the situation is different. If you look at the industrial aspect of this fungi in terms of economy, probably they are giving something economic which is not really comparable with the bad things. Whole lot of fermentation industry. Here in India, we do not have much boom, but fungal biotechnology in the Western world, lot of people, take an example Pfizer and Pfizer, fungal enzymes. Nobody is ahead to them. Millions of dollars they are fetching from the fungal enzymes. Very expensive enzyme. Even pure enzyme, purchasing pure enzyme is really impossible. So, sometimes people they do their research only with the crude enzymes. So, lot of aspects are there, and endophytes, yes, as far as this potential is concerned, application is concerned, they have the application definitely. As I said, they inhibit healthy plant tissue without harm. Major component of fungal biodiversity, as I said that if you compare one plant 15 fungus endophytes, then you can just calculate Hawksworth that 1.5 million, and many people they do not realize that that statistic was based on only on the UK. He calculated 1.5 million based on the plants available in the UK. Where the India, where we have the all Western Ghat, Eastern Ghat biodiversity hotspots, the whole lot of jungle. So, we have definitely a rich diversity of fungi. They are the abundant source of secondary metabolites and potential source of metabolite, plant metabolite. That is very interesting. The first story of the Taxol when it was extracted from a fungus endophyte, the whole scenario of endophytes has changed from the 1993. The Professor Gary Strobel group in US, they isolated this Taxol which is being used as a cancer drug, and from the fungus living inside a Taxus plant. And what was the earlier source of this Taxol drug? Only plant bark, the Taxus plant. The pharma company, acres and acres they used to cut this plant to extract the very, Taxol is a very expensive drug. And it was somewhere it is reported that somewhere 20 to 25 kg of Taxus bark can give only one dose of cancer for the cancer patient. It is so expensive. So, later on lot of environmental issues came in the country like United States, and then government banned it. No, you cannot cut the plant, and you search for the alternative. Of course, other alternative was the synthesizing this chemical, but it was very, very expensive. So, that time 1993 this group, Strobel group, they came out with the idea that one fungus, endophytic fungus living inside a Taxus plant, is producing Taxol independently in the fermentation condition. The whole world was behind this group. Nobody accepted this, hypothesis, how it can be possible, how a fungus can produce a plant metabolites. But he proved again after 10 years the same fungus living into the culture collection, and not only that, they researched it and properly, and they showed that it even they were able to enhance the productivity of the Taxol from this culture. So now it is well established. Taxol was the one beginning story. Later on in the China, people vinblastine and other so many drugs has come in the market from endophytes. So actual research which was taken shape because of this Taxol. But what we are doing now is very, very defocused research. You take any plant and isolate it, you will get some number of endophytes. Is it going to help it? No, it is not. Yes, if you are working on the only biodiversity aspect to say that, okay, this plant is having this many endophytes, up to that extent it is okay. But we have to go, beyond that. So, as I said that it is highly rational. What should be the rational to select the plant? So many plants we have in our garden. You take any plant, isolate some endophytes. Is it your target? No. There are reports also. You should very carefully, of course, we have a whole lot of Ayurveda and all those history, that many plants they are producing the very good plant metabolites which is being used in the medicine. So if you take that example, but what we have to do that? We have to isolate a fungus from that particular selected plant and look for the plant metabolites. Not the just any antimicrobial activity, antibacterial activity, you do that and your research is over. Will land nowhere if we will do that. And unfortunately in India, most of the research is going in the same direction. Qualitatively, if you look at, there is no quality. Hardly 2 to 3% paper, if you look at that, probably you will get the quality of that kind. Nobody has looked about the plant metabolites. Only they are looking for the fungal metabolites. You take the fusarium, is a pathogen also, it will produce the secondary metabolite. So that is not the purpose. Visit area of high plant diversity. Professor Gary Stovall, they have established the fact that if you collect the plant from the rain forest, they are the hyper diverse as far as fungi is concerned. Probably because of the precipitation is more, humidity is high, that may be the reason. Okay? Then plant growing in a desert area, another is very interesting. Very less water content means the fungi which is inside the plant probably able to grow in a stress condition. If you isolate that and look for the application of those fungi, probably will get very interesting. Okay? Any plant growing in the extreme temperature, that is also one of the criteria. You can select the plant. Any plant having a unique trait, I will come later, I have done that one. Then gather information from native people, that is very important. When you go to the forest area, the native people means tribals they are living. In case of like mushroom, we don't know which species is edible, which one is not edible. So only you can get the information from the native people. So talk to them, because many tribal they know that this plant is being used for century as a medicine for some reason. you select that kind of plant. So, these are the rationale of selecting the plant. Otherwise, you walk around the any roadside, you will get grasses also. You take any plant, there is no plant reported without endophyte up till now. So, you will get some number. So, what is to be done as a second step, you have to decide. So, as I said that we need to go for the combo. So, what should be the roadmap for your, suppose you have isolated the endophytes, and then what is to be done? The first step is their identification and characterization. Okay. So, this is how we can do that. You have the sample, then isolation, then incubation, observation, lot of cultural characteristics you have to note down in order to go for the proper identification. Okay. How to do that? Then slide preparation, microscopy, recording the observation. Here it is very important that best practices, intense learning ability and practicing taxonomy is very important in decision making of species level identification. I can tell you the genomic study is not that simple to go to the species level. The ITS barcoding is many group of fungi is completely failed now, and people is searching for the second barcode. Many problematic group, you take the Fusarium, you take the Calototrichum, Aspergillus, Penicillium. Aspergillus penicillium very well it is established, and ITS is not properly working. So, when we are talking about the molecular also, it is not a very simple molecular, you have to go to the very deep level. 2 gene region, 3 gene region, even in case of Fusarium, when a new concept has come, people have worked on the 10 gene region, and then they have established the taxonomy, and all Fusarium genus itself is divided into 2-3 different genera based on the sequencing up to 10 gene region and phylogenetic analysis. Is it that simple? Then my question is, then when you are talking about the 10 gene region, why not to go for the whole genome sequencing? After all, technology is becoming cheaper day by day. Earlier people were talking about sequencing 5,000, 6,000, 4,000, 1,000. Now sequencing is 350 rupees. So, this is the beauty of the technology and becoming cheaper. So, we have a lot of work to do that. So, like that, this is the technique for isolation of endophytes. We call it 3-step surface sterilization protocol. Generally it is followed in case of endophytes. So, these are the basic, I think I will come to the, this is also interesting, particle plating technique. This technique can be used for other group of fungi, soil fungi, and endophyte also. We have practiced it laboratory, slightly tedious, but you will get a very good, probably rare kind of things, but it is a very laborious technique. What you have to do quickly, just I will tell you. You take the leaf, wash it properly, means healthy leaf in case of endophytes, wash in tap water, cut into bits, small bits, and ground into the particle, fine particle through mixture. And here you have a filter, particle filter of different mesh size like 100 micron, 250 micron and 1000 micron. So, filter it, the slurry. So, what you will get which is the smallest pore size, you will get some filtrate here. So, filtering through sieve, you have here suppose 100 micron particle size, and then you make again wash into the sterile distilled water and plate it on agar, and here you will get the small colony coming out. Here important is any colony coming out from the small bits of the plant part which you have filtered in the mesh, that you have to choose and transfer into fresh plate, and that way you have the pure colony. This is a very good technique, even in case of soil fungi also you can do that. So, what will happen is a multiple layer of the washing, it will remove the fastidious fungi like Aspergillus penicillium. Okay. In case of endophytes, quite often if you work, you will get many isolate which is not sporulating. So, quite often in terminology, if you say that this isolate is sterile, that means it has the genetic property not to produce the spore. But how to prove that? Unless you make some effort in order to induce the sporulation, you cannot say that the isolate is sterile. So, there are conventional method available, you have to apply that and wait for at least 3 months, 6 months. Sometimes many fungi are very slow grower and they produce different fruiting structure in culture condition after 3 months, even after 4 months. So, you have to wait, and a different technique you have to apply. Here is one of the technique is that sorry, this is a single spore, means if any fungi is growing in the fruiting body, you just crush the fruiting body, you pick up the single spore using stereo microscope and transfer into the fresh plate, and then it will start growing, and the whole colony will develop from the single spore. Actually, in case of the DNA isolation also in the molecular, we are supposed to do that, but normally it does not happen. If you have the colony, if it is pure, you check properly, that is also serve the purpose. Actually, in principle, it should be the single spore isolation. Okay. So, these are the different protocol about the endophytes, means we have compiled from different paper and globally people are using with slight modification. Please remember that no protocol is like a hard and fast that it will work on every plant. Why it is? If you take a mango leaf and you take a spinach, whether the same protocol will work? If your chemical, whatever 3-step surface sterilization you are doing, that if it is very stringent, it will rupture the plant tissue and it will enter into the intercellular spaces and it will kill the fungus. So, slight modification as per the selected plant is need to be done. So, very judiciously and carefully you have to do that. No protocol given in that. That is why if you read the paper, every paper had one or the certain modification in that. Okay. So, these I think 4 type protocol is given in your manual also. So, I am not going to spend time on that. So, here is the story. You have the plant, then you have taken the internal tissue for isolation, and you have inoculated on the agar medium. You have the different types of colony, then you have to purify the colony. You have the pure colony, then you go for the identification. As a part of identification, you can go for the SCM analysis. Okay, these are the spore, and then you go for the molecular. So, one cycle is complete. You can say it is a biphagic, not the polyphagic. Okay. In case of endophytes, vitality test is very important. In order to check whatever chemical you are taking as a surface sterilant, surface sterilization, you have to check back whether it has any effect on the isolated endophytes. How you can do that? You can do like this. We have checked with Sardinia. Quite often it was coming in our isolation plate, and we were really struggling that how Sardinia is such a very, very strong and fastidious fungus, soil fungus, how it is coming as an endophyte. Somewhere, some mistake student are doing, something as a contaminant or something coming. And that was true. When we checked that, the sodium hypochlorite and treated this small bits of the colony, no effect. So, what is sodium hypochlorite is simply 4% bleach, commercial bleach available in the market. So, that means on that particular plant, when we are washing with the sodium hypochlorite, it is not working. So, we have to slightly change the, either use the ethanol 70% or 95% ethanol. We have to change that strategy. Okay. So, this is the vitality test is very important. Here is the control and here is the t-test. Almost there is no difference. Myrothecium, it works. Myrothecium also comes quite common as an endophyte. We have checked that. So, if you look at the data published in the good paper, all sorts of these chemical compounds have been reported through endophytes. Different types of alkaloid, terpenoid, quinones, flavonoids, peptides, phenol, and they are a very good source of volatile organic substances, hydrocarbons. Yeah, here is the in vitro induction, very simple method, at least once you can try if anybody is working. You take a grass leaf, sterilize it and cut into small pieces and inoculate your fungus which is non-sporulatic on the one end in a such a way that half of the agar should be on the leaf and half on the agar plate and keep for incubation. This is well established, and actually this method was established for the seed borne fungi to sporulate the induce the sporulation in seed borne fungi, but in case of many endophytes is work. Yes, as I said that there was a time for the mono, then came the bi, and now it is a polyphagic taxonomy. Okay. What is the status of fungi now in the tree of life? In the beginning I said that even people still they are teaching fungi as a part of plant. 69 it was reported fifth kingdom system independent, and after that the current in between 2007 the separate classification was given. 2018 the new classification has come, totally changed. And if you look at the whole kingdom fungi, it is separated into three parts, right. So, here we have the fungi near the plant, then animal, here slime molds is separated. Okay. So, all these things are based on some concept, some molecular study, biochemistry study. So, now at least if somebody asks what is the status of fungi, biological status, you should be able to tell that. At least this many people should spread the information about the fungi. Okay. As I said, in the beginning people were struggling to establish a official barcode for the fungi like other organism. So, it was established ITS, but now we are bound to search for the second barcode, because this ITS sequence does not work in many group of fungi. Best example, Fusarium. Internationally it is recommended that you do not need to go for the ITS sequencing for the Fusarium. If at all, if you want, you straightway you jump to the EF, right. So, like that many group of fungi, even hair fungi, mushroom group also, this ITS does not work. Okay. Because Fusarium we have interest at our center, we are working, and 150 different isolates we have sequenced for 3 gene region, and still 1 gene region is pending RPB2. After completing that, then we will do that. What is the DNA barcode and characteristics? DNA barcode is a technique for identifying a species of organism using a short DNA sequence from a standard and agreed upon position in the genome. Simple, very simple terminology. If you go to the store, anything in this kept in the store, it is barcoded. What they are doing that? When you are taking to the cash counter, simply they are scanning the barcode and everything comes in their system. They will able to see that what is the name of the product and what is the price, everything is barcoded. So, it is like a one-stop shop. So, that is why these barcoding for everything, even animal, plants, fish, so they have established and they have a lot of application. So, okay, there are limitations, as I said that so many limitations are there, new tools are coming, new advancement is coming. So, based on that, like fungi, I said that ITS is not working. So, we are bound to search for the other gene region as a second barcode. That is why in many fungi even protein coding gene region is important, to go for the species level identification. This is a simple molecular protocol. I think I need not to explain that, you all know that. Workflow, you have the fungi, then go for the DNA isolation, PCR amplification, then you have to check that amplicon, then go for the sequencing, you have the chromatogram, then go for the blast analysis, multiple sequence alignment, phylogenetic tree constructed. Here phylogenetic tree, there are even a new model has come and slight modification, you can use any of them. Okay. You are looking at such a beautiful structural diversity in the Fusarium. Many Fusarium species comes as an endophyte. If you isolate, you take any plant. But the question must be in your mind that how you can differentiate a pathogenic Fusarium and endophyte. Is there any way to differentiate? Sorry, up till now there is no way. I cannot answer that. Probably another 10-15 years new research will come, so people will, even if you go for the sequencing also genome analysis, it will give the similar result. But yes, if you go for the metabolite or biochemical profiling, probably you will have the answer for that. Unfortunately, no comprehensive research have been done until now. I have not read any report. Okay. So, as I said that in case of Fusarium, alpha elongation factor 1 is very important and deciding factor. And though we are very much inclined to use ITS as a first step jump, and yes, in many of the genera and species fungi where sequence data is not available, first you have to jump to the ITS sequencing also, that will work. But wherever it's a lot of work have been done in the problematic genera like Aspergillus, Penicillium, Fusarium, Colototrichum, many genera of plant pathogens. So, there they are recommending the ITS sometimes gives you very false result. Many a time it happens at our center. It will give the result something like you can jump, you will like, oh, I got the new disease report. And couple of time it has happened at our center, we have identified, people have asked to, okay, you do that this is Fusarium and ITS sequencing, okay, we have given the result. It seems result showed that it is a new fungus, new report, and they have sent paper in the American Phytopathology. The paper was rejected with lot of comment, then they came back to us. Sir, you have given a report which is wrong. I said, have you asked me that you are going to publish this result? Why you have initially, if you don't know about the organism which you are working, why you have specified that you do the ICS sequencing? If you don't tell us, probably we will recommend you to you go for ITS if you want, but other than IPS you should go for the EF. Since then we have stopped that. When we are getting any request for the sequencing work, we are asking that whether some background work you have done that, what is the genus, species, something, at least generic identification whether you have done that, why you are recommending ITS, beta tubulin or any other gene region. Just to know that the person who is working on that organism, he has the basic background. Otherwise, what happens, we cannot work here as a private industry. You send the sample, they will sequence it, they will pass on you the sequences, they will take the money, that is all. So, being we are working in the government organization, so all these things, for the progress of science, we need to consider all those things. We can advise also that if you do not know about this, probably you go for this gene region. Okay. So, very close to the fusarium it has happened, identified morphologically, even ITS sequencing. When we did this LSU, we came to know that it is a microdachium. So, many endophytes also we have isolated our center, we are working on the phylogenetics. This is a common tree, it is a very big tree, I am not able to show you here. So, yes, if you have hundreds of isolates, endophytes, if you want to go further one step for the application part, suppose you want to isolate some secondary, what should be the criteria to choose a particular isolate? These are the some criteria. If any isolates is producing good pigment or color exudates, or it is giving initial bioassay, if you are doing that, it is giving a very good anti-cancer or antimicrobial. So, all these criteria you can use for the selection of a particular isolate in order to go for the next step. Next step, you know that what is the secondary metabolites here. If you have chosen a fungus, then you can go for the fermentation, solid state or liquid fermentation, then separation study using solvent, then you have the crude, and then go for the TLC analysis. On TLC you will be able to see that how many spots are there, based on that you can choose. Then you have the separation of the compound using column chromatography. If your compound is pigmented or color, you will be able to see the color in the column. Otherwise, many a time, most of the time you will have only natural colors, it looks like water. You will not be able to see your compound, it is running. This fungus was interesting, and when we changed the ratio of the solvent, it was showing red pigment and yellow pigment different, and both the compounds are different compound chemically. And out of that one compound we have characterized also, and we have published paper into the process biochemistry. Then through HPLC analysis, you have to see the purity and whether a single peak is coming, and that compound, pure compound, again you have to check the bioactivity. Here in endophytes, especially for secondary metabolite, every step you have to check the bioactivity, whether you are getting the desired activity. Means what are the steps from here? If you have the crude, here with the crude also you have to check the activity, bioactivity, and then after the purification of the compound, again you have to check the bioactivity. Then you will go for the isolation and characterization of the compound, where C13 NMR and all those analytical equipment is required. Okay. So, quickly I will give an idea about the volatile also. Endophytes are very good source of volatile organic compound, and there are approximately 250 fungal volatile organic compounds have been reported from fungi, and these volatiles are nothing but they are a small size and they are able to diffuse through the atmosphere and soil. Because they can diffuse from the soil or atmosphere, they are having a good application in the agriculture also. What are these compounds are reported from fungi? You can just see that 1-octane 3-ol. And very interestingly, it will, when you are working in the laboratory, normally we are seeing this colony with the eyes, but you have to really make your nose very sensible to smell the, those culture. Look here, these are the mushroomy odor. If you are getting something mushroom-like smell in the culture, probably it may be this semiochemical, or unless you check it, you will not be able to find out properly which is the compound. So, like that, banana odor, peppery odor, coconut odor, trichoderma, way back in 1976, it was reported, right? So, like that, we never realized that this is also a part of the fungi, and more than 250, organic compound is reported. Like here, I am coming on the 1 minute, just here sabenin. I have worked on the sabenin. We got, isolated this sabenin. It is monoterpene, and it can be used as a second generation fuel. Bioassay means, suppose any endophytic fungi, if you find that okay, it is giving some smell or volatile organic compound it is producing. So, one way of doing the bioassay means you just check that whether this volatile is having any bioactivity or not. It is a simple, you have to just set up a experiment. So, you have to, I think some problem, you take a agar plate, you cut the strip from this center and isolate your endophyte here, transfer one side, and one side you keep your pathogen, whatever target pathogen. If volatile, it is producing a volatiles maybe after 3, and along with this you can set a control plate, simple, very simple assay. You can just measure the how much percentage of inhibition is there, right, through volatile. This one simple technique we developed that because we are working on the volatiles. So, GC mass is required to capture these volatile substances. Okay. So, it was a very tedious procedure. What we did that we grew the fungus into the plate, plastic plate, and after the 3 years, the 3 days, 4 days growth, when the optimal growth is there, we just you put the hole inside of the plate, put the syringe. There is a special syringe coming from the Sipelco company. On the tip of the syringe there is a fiber optics, that capture the volatiles which is secreted by the fungus. So, you put for 3 hours, 4 hours, and again you take out the syringe and inject into the GC machine. It will give the whole profile, that how much, what are the compounds are there. These are the endophytes we have isolated. This is a orchid plant actually selected. So, not only in fungus, here we have the very interesting actinomycetes also. Quite often we get the actinomycetes as endophyte.
It's a random selection of the plants only.
Yeah, it was a random selection because orchid very, if you look at the naturally, their association with the plant also very interesting. And not all environmental condition we can found that. So, we thought that nobody has worked on the orchid. Let us see that, number one. And second, there were a report that some orchid plant metabolite people have used in the germination of the orchid seed. So, we thought why not isolate a fungus from the orchid and look for that particular chemical which can be applied as is in the seed germination. So, here among the 5 important compounds, sabenin it was detected in our culture. So we check that the culture inhibitory effect against many plant pathogens. What is the bioactivity of that particular culture, and LC50 and all those things we have done this. We have taken many fungi, different type of fungi, Botrytis, Ceratocystis, Aspergillus, Colletotrichum, Fusarium. But here you can see this is a very potent fungus pathogen. Colletotrichum, there was no inhibition by the endophyte. Again the Trichoderma viride, no inhibition, means the other way to interpret that the whatever the metabolite this Trichoderma and Colletotrichum is having, they are able to produce, probably the metabolite produced by this endophyte is not active against those metabolite. That is a it's like a way of interpretation. Something we have to interpret. If it is not giving any activity, why? So these are the compound detected from the GC mass analysis. This portion is very interesting. This is the machine called proton transfer mass spectrometer. Of course, we do not have this machine here in India. This work we have done in the US. What it tells? It tells the on real time basis how much a particular volatile organic compound this fungus is producing on real time basis. That has a direct application in the agriculture, even in the soil. Here very interesting, you have the machine, your laptop is attached with the machine. Here in the bottle you have made the slant and fungus is inoculated. One side is the fungus inoculated bottle is there, and another side is the plain bottle with agar, because you remember these are the volatile substances. Even your agar culture, agar medium is also produce some volatiles. So in order to deduct that particular compound, we have to do that, run the as a control. Okay. Then you put on the machine, and this machine records every second how much volatiles is coming, and in your laptop in software it will record, and it will give you that how much quantity also it is producing. So how means this data is going to be applicable in the field. If you want to use this culture in the poly house or put into the pot culture, you should be able to tell that after 3 days or after 4 days the volatile production is maximum on the peak. So one day before you isolate, put into the soil and keep the pot in the poly house, so that after 2 days you will get the maximum benefit out of it. So this machine also records it. Actually it is made for the people, those who are working on the plant essential oil, how much a particular plant is producing the essential oil, and when the production is maximum and when it is going down minimum. So this is very interesting machine. So we have used this, and simultaneously we have to get the standard sabenin and from the sigma, and we run on the machine. We try to check that whether the fungus which producing sabenin is exactly matching with the standard. The mass spectra you can compare it. So here you can see this sabinic mass number 81 and 137, 81 and 137 exactly from the standard 81 and 137. Confirm result that the endophyte is also producing sabenin very equal to the standard. Okay. So another interesting story quickly I will tell you. This is something very strange in the nature. This plant Laria tridentata we have selected, and if you Google it, you will find that this plant has got a tendency that it does not allow offspring near the mother plant to grow. I did not have any idea about that. So my supervisor, he had some funniest idea, and Gary Strobel, I have worked fortunately in 6 months with him. So he selected, nahi, we should work on this plant, because in the Google something I found that this about this plant. So let us see that what chemical it exudates from the soil or from the root. Okay, we selected that this fungus isolated from the same plant. Okay, SCM and everything we have done that. Here all these compounds were detected GC-Mas. Then we found that the one chemical here, trans-caryophyllene, this is the chemical which is playing an important role because of this plant, and because of this chemical those offspring are not allowed near the mother plant. Don't you think it is something strange against the nature? So like that, when you think about to work on the endophytes, something rational should come in your mind to select the plant and try to implement it. It's not a big task. We don't need proton transfer mass spectroscopy, doesn't have, but GC-Mas most of the laboratories having in India. So only you need the GC-Mas if you want to work on the volatile substances. Another story, this Gliocladium roseum, we have not worked, but our supervisor they have even dubbed the name as a mycodiesel. Long hydrocarbon chain, 22 number of the hydrocarbon chain it is producing. So paper is published in the microbiology journal. If you want, it is available on the Google also. Very excellent paper by the Gary Strobel group. I am showing that a lot of potential is there. It's like a real virtual chemistry factory. These many chemicals are reported from that fungus. So I think, thank you. I will, as madam said, the conservation is very important. Many low cost classical technique is also available, and high cost technique is also available. Whatever is feasible you can use in the laboratory, right from sterile distilled water to liquid nitrogen. But whatever technique you apply, that you apply common sense, use your common sense. Sometimes only we have a tendency to read a certain paper and try to follow it without having a information and knowledge or concept that why this person has used this fungus. Okay, many technique like sterile distilled water, glycerol, mineral oil, freeze drying, cryopreservation, barley grain, plant pathogenic fungi, many fungi, 3 years, 4 years if you maintain on the grain, it retained the virulence also, because the people working in plant pathology and agriculture, they want their fungus to retain their virulence for a certain purpose. If you maintain on the other, even liquid nitrogen, virulence goes down certainly, because you are maintaining a fungus on the agar culture. So that activity will not be there after 4 years, 5 years. Again you have to revive those things. So this is the story, Indian scenario. I said that recently I have compiled the information. 17,527 angiosperm and 67 gymnosperm reported from India. 294 terrestrial plants, including some grasses from 95 plant families so far explored for endophyte. That too, it's a very fragmentary reports are there. Report I have compiled. 37 plants of aquatic or marine habitat, including mangrove plants, are screened for endophyte. Many genera of endophytic fungi are found ubiquitous and not identified even up to the species level. 450 endophytic fungi are reported from India. That was the report in 2010. But yes, one good thing is there, the inclination of researcher towards bioprospecting of endophytes in the last decade it has seen. I am not saying that report says that. Before that only just taxonomy and diversity analysis was there. That is a good one. So to conclude that, I would say that 21st century is the golden era of biotechnology. Mycology and fungal biotechnology are in progress state of development. Awareness needed among the younger generation of mycologists and biotechnologists of immense potential of endophytic fungi as a source of novel biomolecules with medicinal, industrial and agriculture application. Mindset and expertise for competence and global competitiveness are very much essential. You just note down. We have to be a very, very competitive. Otherwise, it is very hard to publish a single paper in a good impact factor journal. So, require multidisciplinary collaborative research and linkage with the national and international center, bioresource center. Thank you. Some of our publication on the endophyte, FAMES microbiology letter, phytochemistry, microbial ecology. Thank you. So, I am sure there will be good questions, a lot of query in mind. Yeah. Yeah.
How can we determine that the endophyte will work on another host which is infected by the same pathogen? Like, is there any horizontal transfer of that endophyte among different hosts?
Yes. The same question was asked when Taxol discovery was there. So, it was proved that there is a horizontal gene transfer. Means question was asked that how a particular endophytes living inside a Taxus plant is getting, means it is producing a Taxol independently in the culture condition, in the laboratory condition. So, answer of this question was that there is a horizontal gene transfer, there was a possibility, and at that time, because it was a, nobody has proved that. So, merely it was just assumption, but now it is proved horizontal gene transfer is there. It is not the one story, even binblastin, the Chinese people, they have reported this binblastin from endophyte. And earlier this binblastin used to extract from the Vinca rosea plant metabolite only. So, it is now this mechanism is proved, at least very well proved that yes, fungus or endophyte can produce a plant metabolite. Bioactivity is concerned, you have to really do lot of bioassay testing. Merely assuming that this endophytes is active against this particular pathogen of the particular plant, so it should work on the other plant, it won't work. You have to do the screening. So, even in other paper, USDA has a very good paper. What people have done that they have isolated a particular endophyte with particular trait, and they have inoculated in a other plant in order to check the insect for the insect control, and it is successful. They introduced in the plant, and after 6 months, 1 year, they isolated the same fungus from the plant, and it is showing the same activity. You got my point? So, like that, so many bioassay is required. Merely assumption won't work. It may work, it may not work.
Thank you so much, sir. Very nice lecture. Right now, I am a PhD student, second year.
Yeah.
I am working with volatile compounds which is produced by endophytes, but it is from bacterial endophytes.
Okay.
And I have proved also in my MSc that those volatiles are showing inhibition against my pathogen. But now my question is that everything I have standardized means what is the dose, how it is showing inhibition against my pathogen. But only question is how to apply in real field condition. Any bioformulations, any kind of formulations are there. how we can formulate that, how we can use that volatile compounds for real agriculture, real in field.
I'll give one example. I don't know whether you are aware that in case of many crops, especially I'll quote here the strawberry cultivation. You know that mulching, by mulching people are doing that. What is this mulch?
Some straw.
Soil they are covering with the polythene, and they are giving the treatment of soil treatment with methyl bromide. It's a very general practice, common practice in agriculture. Soil treatment, for soil treatment, methyl bromide is heavily used. Though this methyl bromide is very dangerous, way back in 2001, United States opposed that because of the ozone depletion, ozone layer depletion. This methyl bromide should be banned completely, phase out. But because we don't have any other alternative as wonder drug, this wonder chemical, methyl bromide. So still people are using in a very restricted sense. So what we are doing, that methyl bromide they are putting into the soil, mixing in the soil, and with the mulch polythene they are covering the soil. Why? Because whatever vapors are coming, it should be there for a certain period, so that whole soil should be treated. All pathogen means it will kill the pathogen. It is such a stringent chemical. Similar way, you take on a small scale pot. Any plant, if you are going to apply for this fungus endophyte, you said that everything is standardized. You mix the culture into the soil. For that soil, you have to put the sterile soil, right? Autoclave the soil, take 5 kg soil, and a same size of the pot you take, put the soil, and again put your endophytes.
Actually, sir, my work is for seed treatment. Directly, I am using that volatile.
Huh.
We got that.
Then what is the problem? You mix the culture in the seed, no?
Not culture, sir. I am working with particular volatile compounds, which is in liquid form. So
Liquid form.
yes, sir. We got that cache number which was matching with in Sigma, and we procured that volatile compounds also. And I am using for seed treatment. So how can I use in field condition? For laboratory it is okay, sir. I am getting results also. For field application I am asking.
No, but if it is you are using for the seed treatment, so treated seed only you have to plant in the field condition, no?
Yes, sir.
So give the treatment separately, and then you take the seed into the field, no?
That's what.
Right.
Farmers.
Ah. So there probably possibility of getting failure will be more, because it is a volatiles. I told you proton PTRMS, that equipment, it very much clearly give the indication when the production of the volatile is going up and when it is down. So when it is going up, during that period if you apply that in the field condition, you will get the result, because it's what means volatiles, highly volatiles. Even it can diffuse with the air. The moment it is diffused with the air, the activity will go down. So it is risky. But there are patent also available. Looking at your GC mass data, in the same ratio, you take the artificial compound from the Sigma or any other company, mix it in the same ratio, it should mimic the activity of your endophytic culture. Then in that case, you have the ownership of that GC mass data. You can file a patent, you can use that artificial mixture of the chemical compound for the treatment on the large scale. Not your fungus. This fungus, probably it won't work in the large scale in field condition.
Sir, actually, being a pathologist, when we want to see that the fungus is pathogenic or not, we go for pathogenicity test.
Right.
But whether the fungus endophytic or not, because we are isolating, we are much care we are giving, but chance will be there whether whatever we are isolating is saprophyte can be there.
Yes.
So, is type of any test is like there which we can prove that it is endophytic, like we have the pathogenicity like that something we can do.
There is no test, but like how in pathology we are doing the Koch postulate. If you isolate a fungus, the same plant, against same plant, you try to satisfy the Koch postulate principle.
Go inside back, just I want to know.
Yeah.
It will go back.
You see that whether it is producing any symptom.
The discussion about it and he says that there is no, macrospeculations and also even the
Yeah.
there is no difference between the pathogen and also the endophyte, even if it is the same gene.
So, up till now there is no clear cut barrier to distinguish both pathogen and Fusarium axisporum pathogen and Fusarium axisporum endophyte. No.
For you, it is an area of interest and area
Yes.
that you can develop a postule which can really tell this is a.
So, other way in the experimentation, as I said that USDA, there is a paper, series of paper, you can see that. What they have done that, they have isolated a endophyte, okay. They have tested against a particular insect. They got a very good result. So, again what they have done in the second step, they have introduced this endophytic fungus in that particular plant in the natural condition, many plants, and they try to look that whether insects are coming and attacking that plant or not, experimental plant. They got a fantastic result. And again after 6 months or 1 year, again from that experimental plant, they have isolated the same endophyte.
Like that something about us.
It's very much proved. And series of paper, I can give you the reference, I think. It is there somewhere. So, it's not that it is in a very fancy stage. Lot of trial and error people are doing that. Yeah.
Sir, as there is a very thin line between the pathogenic and endophytic fungi,
Yeah.
can we say that endophytes are latent pathogen? Means
Maybe there is a paper. There is a paper. So, up till now the hypothesis is established that it is only nothing but only is a phase in the life cycle of a particular fungus. One phase it acts as a symbiont. If it is non-pathogenic, simply we say that it is a symbiotic association, right? And other phase it is turning towards the pathogenic phase. That too nobody has done experimentally proved it, merely assumptions. Yes, there are paper available on that. They say that it probably it works as a latent pathogen, and in the moment the defense system, defense mechanism a particular plant goes down, it will attack and express as a pathogen. Another story 100 years back, and it was a concept that many plant they are producing a plant metabolite which has got a antimicrobial property. Because of that metabolites, many insects they are not coming and attacking the plant. But if you look at the Taxol discovery, is it challenging phenomena hypothesis? Old hypothesis Strobel has challenged that. It is not only the plant, the fungus living inside that plant, it is producing the metabolites. Because of that metabolites, insects are not coming to that plant. So, many hypotheses is challenged in the new era of science.
Sir, in Petri plates, what kind of specific character we have to observe to identify these endophytes?
This kind of
Specific characters, sir. Sir, for example, we can say for Fusarium some Salmon color it appears means it is Physarum verticillata like that. For endophytes, what kind of characters we have to see to observe?
General character, whatever you are using for fungi, identification, there is no distinction, whether it is saprophyte, whether it is pathogen, whether it is endophyte. The same character.
Again, in microscope, sir. Microscope also we can see spores also.
Yeah.
Again, it also same. Only through molecular tools.
That is why the same thing we have discussed. Fusarium axisporum isolated as a pathogen, Fusarium axisporum isolated as endophyte. Morphologically, there is no distinction. Even genetic level, no difference. So, identifying character, whatever is reported for general fungi, the same you have to consider for the identification.
Then it means that sometimes we can use as a endophytes.
That is why many people they are isolating, they are reporting Aspergillus penicillium also as an endophyte. There is no, hypothesis established that why, if you ask me why Aspergillus penicillium cannot be endophyte, I don't have answer. So my answer simply that bench worker, you are working person, you are the best judge. How perfectly you have applied the protocol, how perfectly you have used the chemical, how perfectly your handling is there, depends on, and only you are the judge to say that this is a true endophyte.
Sir, then following this practical plating technique protocol means we can avoid maximum number of the Aspergillus or penicillium. Sir.
Yeah, particle plating technique idea is that why this technique is different from other, that even if you take a plant or even a soil, a small particle, anything coming inside the particle is considered in case of endophyte as a endophyte. So in particle plating, so washing technique is so rigorous, multiple, that chances of getting contamination is very less.
It is standardized by you only, sir. Otherwise, maybe scientists.
I said that you are the judge.
Sir, one more you said that 5.1 million fungi is reported.
Yeah,
Means any authentication report.
1.5 million.
5.1.
Yeah, there are paper. You Google it, 5.1 million fungi, endophyte. Some the keyword you get that you will get the paper.
Thank you, sir.
Many fungi, whatever we are seeing here, we say that it is culturable, so we can see that. Many fungi, they are not culturable. What to do that? And who said that fungi only eat the potato dextrose agar? Such a rich medium. Your fungi become a diabetic and one day will die. Endophyte don't use PDA medium. For isolation only use the water agar. Best. Zero, nutrition. Then in that case, you will get fungi, you will get bacteria, you will get actinomycete also. After that, from isolation plate to purification plate, you use the PDA if you are very much fond of the PDA. But I would say that even if you are using the PDA, you make your own PDA and make it half stained, quarter stained. Standard PDA is really, it is killing the fungi like anything. Somebody has researched and reported that, and Sigma and all those companies, they are selling their product, in millions, and we are buying it, such expensive. Have you ever tried that? If you take the potato from the market, new crop potato and old crop potato, and make the media and see what is the difference in the cultural characteristics. You try it. I will not recommend to buy the standard PDA from the Sigma or any other company. Definitely after 4 or 5 years your fungus become diabetic and it will not be able to save it.
Sir, In plant, endophytes are spreading or they are present within the same cell. If they are spreading, how they are not damaging to the plant cell?
I didn't get your point.
Endophytes are generally inside the plant.
Plant, yeah.
So whether they are present within same cell or during their propagation they are also spreading from one
Yeah.
cell to another
Yeah,
cell.
one cell to other
So
cell
in
because
that, if
yeah.
it is that case,
Yeah.
then how they are damaging, how without damaging to the, I mean, for spreading they should break that cell wall from one cell to another cell.
Yeah.
So in that case, they are not causing to the harmful to that plant cell.
See, if your question I will twist in another way. What is the reservoir source of these fungi? From where these fungi are coming in nature?
Different soil or plant. Yes.
Soil is the main reservoir, whether it is pathogen, whether it is saprophyte, whether it is soil. And it is because of the adaptability and potential of fungi to acquire different traits in due course of time. These fungi are very notorious. Their genetic makeup is like that only. They can break any barrier, they can adapt to any environmental condition. One fungus will grow in the high humidity area, another will grow in the thermophilic area, and there is grow into the very low temperature like psychrophiles. Okay, it is nothing but it is their adaptability and acquiring the trait to for their survival in a adverse condition. So soil is the reservoir. From soil only all fungi they are spreading. So in a particular forest area, if you have let us say Tectona grandis, right, 100 plants are there. So source of inoculum, if I would say, it is the soil. From soil only they are spreading one plant to another plant. In a particular plant, if you see their vertical distribution, stem, you will get the diversity different, leaf, you will get the diversity different, leaf petiole, you will get the different diversity, leaf lamina and midrib, even people have done on that specific level, their diversity is different. So as long as they are inside the plant and there is no hindrance from the plant defense mechanism, they can survive for a longer period and they will grow vertically, horizontally. So that is why when we are cutting into small pieces this leaf bit for isolation, so possibility of getting multiple isolate multiple time, a single isolate multiple time is more, because we are cutting into small pieces and suppose mycelium inside the tissue is there of the one fungus, you are cutting into 4 part and again isolating into the agar plate, right. So all 4 part when they will grow into independent colony, they will be the same.
There are no more questions. Now we can conclude the discussion. We are very much thankful, Dr. Singh, and elaborative talk on a very interesting topic on this endophytic fungi. How many of you are working on endophytic fungi? I think you are on bacteria and you are working on fungi. Already selected the topic for your thesis. So anybody else working? No? So if you, I think some of you are in MSc, and if anybody has to still to choose your topic for your thesis, I think this is the one area which is very much interesting. And also since we are isolating this fungi from the healthy plant,
Yeah.
that means the chemicals produced by these fungi will be definitely the useful ones, because it may be used either for the good growth or for the resistance to the other pathogens or resistance to the even the insects. So definitely the fungi which you are going to isolate from these endophytic fungi which you are going to isolate, definitely they have some use. So then you can use them for the biocontrol purpose, and then it will be an application to the agriculture. So that's why it is a very important area. If anybody is, I think he has given a very good lecture. So you should, I think your people are inspired by that. And even if at least two of you can choose this area of work for your thesis, and we will be very happy that you are inspired by this lecture. And now, sir, definitely we are all very much gain the knowledge on this topic with your elaborative speech, and I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, madam. Once again. So if any query, further query is there, my email is there, you can write a mail. I'll happily share some good paper, and I'll try to solve your query. So thank you.
So you want to give